Okay, what I wanted to do is give you a quick overview of how to set up multiple cameras and set them on a sequencer. So what I have here is just this is a file that I use to cover trim sheets. So it's just a little area here. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to put a camera in here. Okay, so we can come in, and what you're going to do is right up here, you're going to come down to cinematic, and then you're going to say make a scene camera actor. Okay, it'll pop up, and then you're kind of looking through it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to keep this organized. So we're going to come up here to the top, and let's go ahead and make a new folder, and we'll just say this is our cinematics, and then we're just going to put our scene, our camera in that. Okay, so then what we can do here is we can actually come in here, and you can right click on this and you go pilot camera, and then you're actually looking through the camera. Okay. And so we're actually, at this point, we're actually looking through the camera, through this particular camera. Okay, so then the other thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and put a sequencer in here. So we're going to go ahead and add level sequence. And we're going to give it a name. We'll just call this cinematics. And we'll save that. And then we're going to go ahead and drop that in our folder too, so we can keep it all together. All right, so now what we want to do is we have to add the camera into this. So we go over here to add camera, and then you go to add an actor, and then you'll see your camera in here, and we can add it in here. Now, the thing that confuses people a lot is when it adds in the camera, you're also got this camera cut. Okay, the camera is separate, and then this is the timeline that is rendered. So this up here is what's rendered. This is actually a camera, and we have little blocks on here where I can look through the sequence once I animate it, and I can look through a specific camera. So now that I have this camera in here, I can set it up. So one of the things I want to do is to come over here to your settings for your camera, and then you can set all kinds of things up in here. Okay, like we can decide, like right here where it says focal length, maybe I'm going to change this to a wider lens, say maybe a 22 millimeter lens, which just gives me a little bit wider of a look. Up here on my film back, I want to change this to, I'm going to use a 16:9 DSLR. So 16:9 is the format. And you can crop it to a 177, that's a 16:9. If you want to do a widescreen, you can do a 239. Okay, so that's kind of just you're deciding how you want to see the settings. Let's do it at the 16:9, which is a normal 16:9 ratio. Okay, so we've got the camera set up now, and then we can kind of come in here, and let's say that I'm going to decide that I want my camera to start, say, maybe here, and that this is where I want the camera to start. So what I'm on my transform right here, I've got to have this is my time slider. Okay, so I'm going to set it down here at 0, and then when I click this button right here, it's going to set a keyframe. Now, if I open this up, there's all different kinds of keyframes it's showing, but I'm just going to do all of them at the same time. So when I click this, you'll see there's a little keyframe there. So now I can move this time slider over wherever I want. I'm going to go to the end. This is by default 150 frames. And then I'm just going to change this to a different look. And then I'm going to add a keyframe there. So it's going to animate from there to there. Okay. And you can play it. I'm just hitting the space bar. Now, by default, this will have a slow in and out on the camera, and we normally don't want slow in and outs on our camera. So what I can do is I can drag a box around this, which is going to select all those keys. Then I can right click on it here and I can go linear, and now that's going to make all those keys linear. So now it's not going to have a slow in and out. It's going to be at a constant speed. Okay. Now, once I have this camera set up, I can make a new camera, or I'm going to have all my cameras using the same settings. And so all I'm going to do is go up here and click on the camera, and I'm going to copy it. So I'm going to go Control C and then Control V. And that's going to make me a new camera. Then what I can do is come down here and add the camera into my timeline. Go back to 0. So I'm going to add the next camera in. And then we're going to be looking through this camera. So we're at frame 0 again. And so I can look and decide, okay, I want to maybe do something like this, set a keyframe, and then go to the last frame, and then I'm going to move it and maybe rotate it back, maybe something like this. And then I set another keyframe, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab those keyframes, and I'm going to make those linear. Okay, then I can close this up. Now what I want to do is I'm going to come down here and add some more frames into my timeline. So now I'm going to take this and slide it over. So it's going to go from this to there. Okay. Now I need to have this time slider at the beginning of that. Okay, so I need it at that 150 mark. And now I'm going to add this camera onto this timeline. By default, as soon as we started, it put this camera on the timeline, but now I want to add this camera on the timeline. So I hit this plus button right here and I pick it. Now where it's going to put it is wherever I had this time slider at. So you have to be careful. Don't have your time slider here. It's going to drop it in there, which is not what we want. We want it to start down here where it starts. Okay. So then we add that in. Then we're going to have to grab it and stretch the end of it and stretch it out till it lines up down here. Then the other thing that throws people off is when it's rendering, there is a green line here and a red line. That's what it's going to render. So we have to slide that down as well. Then we click this button. So we're looking through on this. Now we can go to the beginning and you can play it. And then it'll switch and play the next one. Okay, and I have it on repeat down here. So, once you set a camera up, if you know, of course you can come in and change the settings, but what I like to do initially is set a camera up with the settings that I want. Okay. Then when I copy and paste, instead of making a new, I could always come in here and I can make a new, camera. But if I just copy and paste this one, it copies all of the way I've set it up also. And then you want to make a folder so we keep everything organized together. Then when we put it on a timeline, this first one is going to automatically show up in the camera cuts. And so this confuses people. Why are there two in here? Well, this is the camera itself, and this is the actual timeline that it's rendering and what we're going to watch and see. Okay. So then we set a new camera in, we animate it, then we slide it over so that the sequence is in a line. We do a third one, we put it over here. Then you got to make sure you put this time slider, because when I add the new camera in, it's going to put it where that is, and we want it to line up with this. When it comes in, it doesn't understand how far this is going to go. It doesn't know what we want to do. So you just grab the end of it, move it over. And then the other thing that throws people off is this is the render set area. This is the area it's going to render. So we have to make this go from here too. And now this is set up to do, to actually come in here and be able, and we need to watch through here, because when you're watching through here, we're just seeing this first part. Okay. Here, we're watching through this camera. Here, we're watching through that camera. Okay, that's a quick, real simple way of understanding how to put a camera in, how to put multiple cameras in, how to put them on your timeline, and understand that it's not a lot. I think what confuses people is they think this is like, and I don't know why they didn't do it this way, but it's like Premiere Pro or After Effects, in which that if I have the stuff on the timeline, it's going to see them. Okay, but this down here is not what it's looking at. It's looking this. This is our render timeline. So we have to have all of these put on here, and you do that by dropping them in here. And then the trick to know is it'll put it wherever I align this to. So if I put it right here and says, okay, well, let's put this camera in there, then it just overwrote that and went back to the original one. Okay. All right, so hopefully that helps you a little bit, and I'll do another video, follow-up to this one, where I will show you how to do the rendering. All right, hope that helped you. Thank you very much.